Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and we're going to be going over the day one decks, what I recommend you guys to check out and play. All of these decks were super fun during the theory crafting event, and I think a great way to start off the new standard rotation meta in this expansion. There's a lot of different classes here and a lot of different brews. So first things first is the bigger and bigger green man druid, very similar to Jade Druid. Back in the day, this deck revolves around imbuing your hero power with the new legendary, the Rune Totem, which changes into a 2-mana, summon a 1/1 Plantlini, which is basically a small Jade Golem, and then each time you imbue your hero power, it will get +1/+1, so starts 1/1, 2/2, 3/3, and with this new start of the game legendary, if each spell in your deck is nature, imbue your hero power, repeat this every 2 spells you cast, which means every 2 nature spells, you get +1/+1 on the guy you get to summon. And on top of that, we run obviously a whole bunch of nature spells, and then along with other minions that have battle cries, imbue your hero power. So very slow, very scaling druid deck here. Revolves around making that hero power as big as possible. And then once we get a juicy hero power that summons 6/6, 7/7, 8/8, we can go with sing along buddy. Your hero power triggers twice. Keep in mind, 2 sing along buddies does not make your hero power trigger 4 times. One, like they don't do, it's like old brand. So just sing along buddy, hero power, you get to summon 2 jades. Again, very slow, very scaling deck, very fun to watch your guys get bigger and bigger. Moving towards a deck that doesn't have big minions, it's actually very small minions, is going to be the Wisp Mage. This deck revolves around, again, imbuing your hero power, which changes it to a 2-mana, summon a 1/1 Wisp and deal 1 damage randomly to an enemy, minions, or face. And each time we imbue our hero power, we deal 1 more damage and we summon 1 more Wisp. So lots of Wisps, tiny little minions, but we definitely can swarm our opponent each and every turn. You're dealing 5 damage, summoning 5 minions. At the same time, we run the Protoss package in here, so we're building up a juicy Colossus for our end game. So our early game, hero power, imbuing, lots of pressure, lots of little minions, doing damage to our opponent's minions in their face. And then alongside of that, we are playing Protoss support cards to juice up, clear board, summon minions, charge, put pressure out, and then Colossus cleans them up at the end. We also run the new Anessa card, which is Battlecry. If 20 friendly minions have died this game, deal 20 damage split among all enemies. Very, very powerful card, especially if you get a juicy dark gift on it through the Xavius. There's also a couple spicy inclusions in here, like Water Cool Artist with Tsunami. Good draw, propels you very far ahead in the early to middle game, and then Tsunami again, just more minions dying, juices up your Anessa. This is definitely one of the most fun mage decks I've played. Keep in mind, all these decks that I am covering, I should have a video on, and I'll put them in the description below. So if you're interested in seeing gameplay of any of these decks before you craft it, they should all be out by now. Moving down to the Dragon Res Warrior, Control Warrior, love it. This new card is insane. This is Taunt, Death Rattle, summon a random dragon for each time this card has died this game, which means we want to bring this guy back as many times as possible. So Hydration Station brings him back because he's a taunt. We also run the Succumb to Madness, discover a friendly dragon that died this game, resummon it. And then we also run the new location, Clutch of Corruption, choose a friendly dragon, summon a 0/2 egg that hatches into a copy of it. So the whole point is to be able to get this dragon out as soon as possible. We also have the new Tolia in the deck, Taunt Elusive. After this takes damage, gain 1 armor and gain 1 attack. We can combo that with Chemical Spill on turn 4 or 5, be able to bring out this giant taunt minion, which buys us time to be able to juice up and create as many dragons as possible. This was, again, very fun warrior deck. Love Control Warrior, and dragons are fun, so definitely was one of my favorite decks to play. Moving on over to a Demon Hunter deck that isn't aggressive. Well, it is aggressive, but it has juicy minions in here. This propels in the mid to late game, so it's a little bit slower. Again, not a hyper aggro Demon Hunter deck. It revolves around using stuff like the Spirit Peddler to discount minions in your hand by 6. It also has the new dragon in the deck that reduces the cost of the rightmost card in your hand by 2. We have a ton of stuff to bring these back, like the Ravenous Fell Hunter, Death Rattle, resurrect a friendly Death Rattle minion that costs 4 or less, summon a copy of it. So being able to keep summoning copies of the cards that are discounting cards. We run quite a few giant minions in the deck, like the new Omen card, Rush, Wind Fury, Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to all enemies each time this attacks. So we can get this guy out early. We have Mag, we have the Inquisitor. We have another new card, which is our synergistic Death Rattle card, which is the Ferocious Fellbat. 7/5 Death Rattle, resurrect a different friendly Death Rattle minion that costs 5 or more, summon a copy of it. So we can copy our Omen, or we can copy Spirit Peddler to be able to get even more discounts or even more value or even more stuff on the board. It wouldn't be a demon deck without Window Shopper and also the Umbra's Grass to get even more discounts. And then the return policy, huge late game payoff. While it is an inexpensive card, you generally don't play this in the early game because you want one of your big boys to die. And this is going to be discover a friendly death rattle card you played this game, trigger its death rattle. So if you use the return policy on the Fellbat and then it hits the Omen, you get 2 Omens on the field for 3 mana, which is insane. So for those of you who like the big decks, this is a deck for you. Moving to the not so Livrim Paladin, one of the few Paladin decks in the recent expansions that I've actually enjoyed. It's going to be the Imbue Dragon Paladin. So this revolves around imbuing your hero power, which for Paladin is a 2 mana, shuffle 2 portals into your deck, and then they summon dragon correlating to how many times you've imbued your hero power. So when you imbue it once, it'll shuffle 2 portals, and then when you draw them, they will summon 1 mana dragons. However, keep imbuing your hero power, we're summoning larger and larger dragons, capping off at 10 mana dragons, which is pretty good. 2 mana, shuffle 2 portals into your deck, and then when you draw those portals, you get 10 mana dragons. Pretty solid. There's a lot of cards in the deck that taunt Battlecry. If there is a card in your deck that didn't start there, the portals, you get to draw that, and this gains +2/+2. So there's a lot of imbue, there's a lot of draw, there's a lot of value. Again, a very slow, these imbue decks are very slow scaling hero power. At the end of the game, you should be getting max value and a lot of great stuff from them. This Paladin deck, I would say, is extremely beginner friendly, really easy to play, curves out like a dream, and it's fun to see a lot of dragons popping out of the portal. And there's a lot of value with stuff like Ursel. Cast the highest cost spell from your hand as an aura. It lasts 3 turns, big spells. We run the Drasil, which summons and gives us Ysera cards, which are crazy, and then Renewing Flames, which is lifesteal, deal 5 damage to the 2 lowest health enemy, which it can go face, and as an aura, it'll happen each and every turn, so that's very, very good. I was quite surprised at how much I enjoyed that Dragon Paladin deck. Now, the last deck, which I thought would be the worst performing deck that I had, was actually the best performing deck, and that's going to be the Control Leech Death Knight, which revolves around controlling and summoning leeches. So this is a 6 mana 3/5. Your leeches steal 2 more health from their victims. Battlecry summon 2 0/2 leeches. So the leech in itself is not very powerful, but alongside this guy, they turn into a menace. So leeches are 0/2s. At the end of your turn, you take 1 life from the lowest health enemy. And this is really cool because if you hit your opponent directly, you're reducing their total life. You're not, because you're not dealing damage, you're stealing it. So you're getting life, your opponent's losing max life, and if you get this off quite a few times, you can get your opponent down to like 10, 15, just total max life. Very similar to the Excavate Warlock, if you're familiar with that snake, the Azurite snake. So very slow, grindy value, just health-oriented Death Knight. A lot of the games that we played with this, again, all of the links will be in the description of the actual videos of us playing these decks. We've gone up to 80, 90, 100 life in some of these games, and then with all of that life, you have plenty of time to play Kill Jaded, and then juice up big demons from that if you happen to run out of cards. But yeah, very fun Death Knight deck. Didn't think it was actually going to be that good because there's not like a clear win condition. It's just like really powerful, a lot of value, just a lot of health. You just feel like an absolute tank. With that, those are all my day 1 deck recommendations. If you have anything that stuck out to you that seems spicy on ladder on day 1, let me know. Put it in the comment section below. And with that, enjoy the decks. And if you watch the videos, enjoy the games as well. As always, I'm Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.